demo of the caricature project. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a good portrait of ourselves against a green screen. Ideally, not wrinkled like we have here, but we didn't have time to undo the wrinkling. If you have a solid color wall behind you, ideally not something that's going to be yellow or orange or slightly red, or close to your skin tone basically, it should work. So if it's something that is really vibrant in a different color, it would work. So I'm going to go in and start with select color range. There's other selection tools on the toolbar here on the left that would work for this, but I find that select color range works the best. The way it works is you click on your background and it will select a tone and anything that's within a certain range of that. So if I increase this up quite a bit, you'll see how it's selecting more and more. If I go too far, I start getting those colors in my face. So ideally, what you're going to do instead is keep it down near the default of 40 and use the add to the selection tool, or just simply hold down shift and then click, and you can even just click and drag across a few values and it will find them and it will select them. So that looks pretty close, although I have some spots of gray still. So if I increase my fuzziness to maybe 60 or something, somewhere under 100, I'm probably good. I'm starting to get a little bit in my glasses, but I think that will be okay if I just bump this down a little. There we go. And I'll hit OK. So that makes the selection. Now there was an option to invert our selection, but I think most of the time we forget that. So I'm going to go to select inverse, and that will select now just me. And you can see that it is not selecting some of this green that's reflecting on the side of my glasses, and we'll work on fixing that. I'm going to go into select and mask in order to refine that. It is putting it against a what am I trying to say? I can make my background now what is not selected. I can increase and decrease the opacity. Sometimes it's easier to see against a black background, so you can do that, or even if it's just black and white, or really if you want to see what layers you're gonna, or what you're getting and not what you're not getting, on layers would make it invisible, which gives you that checker pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and just kind of adjust a few things in here. My radius, normally I want to be about, say, 5 to 10 pixels. Seems to work for this resolution. I'm going to smooth it just a little bit, feather it just a little bit, and I think that should be pretty good. It's giving me a softer edge, which is exactly what I want. If I turn on decontaminate colors, it will remove the green halo that I get. So let me actually, if I shift my edge, you'll be able to see it more. So I get a green halo. There we go. And you can see actually there's little pixels that it selected if I shift it up too much. But basically turning on decontaminate colors gets rid of that green, well, most of it. If I reset my shift edge to close to 0, there we go. That gets it nicer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go paint around my head wherever there seems to be a problem. So there's a little green here. I'm going to paint over that. Oh, it totally didn't want to do what it just did. So that is the selection brush, and I didn't want to select that. So I'm going to hit Command Z, and it will undo that. What I wanted to do, I'm skipping steps here, is click on the Refine Edge brush, and then it will refine that and take out the color. So now that I paint over that, I kind of reduced it a bit, but it's better than it was. And there's a little green up in here, so I'm going to paint over that. And there's a little green in here, and it will find that. I think what I have going on is I have too much smoothing and too much of a radius. So I'm going to bump these down a bit, particularly the feather. I might just take the feather off and paint back over this, because it was blurring my face, and I wanted it to get the hairs. Like you can see the difference between the left and the right here. where there's sort of this darker halo that's green. Now if you paint over this, it gets rid of that green. It leaves in the color of the hair. I might even just take our smoothing all the way down too. I'm going to just paint over this. Okay. That looks good. And then I'm going to go back over to this spot up here that I adjusted. And I think if I paint over the glasses, no, it's not gonna like that. Okay, it did help, but let me paint over it. And this time I'm going to increase my. Well, no, I shouldn't do that. I'm gonna just paint over a big spot here and see if it will get that. It's filling it in some, but it's still transparent. And so if I'm going to insert a background that is a solid color, it would insert there and it would be fine. But if I'm not going to, then what I need to do is I need to take our selection tool and I need to hold down Option and click on this. Oh, I did it the wrong way. I shouldn't hold down Option. I should just paint over this. Okay, and it brings that back into my selection. And now if I paint back over it with the Refine Edge tool, I hope it will take out the color. No, it's taking... All right, so I have the choice between having the green or having it transparent. So I'm gonna opt for it to stay green and just pretend that the sides of my glasses actually were green. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied there, so I'm gonna hit OK. And what the bottom option there is that it's gonna copy it into a new layer with a mask. So you've got your original layer, you've got your layer with a mask, and now we can move on to actually manipulating our image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the lasso tool and I'm going to select around my head. And I'm going to come in pretty close to my chin, but not cutting into it like that. And I'll just do Edit, Copy Merged, Edit, Paste. And I want to illustrate the difference. Oops, I'm going to undo that. If I were to just do Command-C, Command-V, it's copying the mask, but if I was actually selecting the layers, it would drop back in the background, and I don't want that. So that's why I'm doing this special way of Edit, Copy Merged, Edit. And what we really want to do is we want to do Paste Special, Paste in Place, and that will make sure it doesn't shift over like it was when I do it. So now I have just a floating head, and I'll probably just go ahead and clean this up right now. If I hit E, I can erase out the bits of my shirt that are showing, because I know that's going to be a problem in the near future. And we'll come back and we'll refine this edge later, and you'll understand why. Now I'll just go ahead and make a selection. I suppose I should label my layers first, so I'm going to call this face. And then I'm going to select my nose. And I'm selecting just a bit outside of it. And I'll do Command-C, Command-V. This is actual layer or pixels, so it's fine to copy and paste. But when I go to the next layer now, I'm going to have to do a selection, and I'll just do around my mouth. And I made that an ugly looking selection. I'll clean that up a little. And I'm going to do Edit, Copy, Merged, Edit, Paste, since there weren't pixels on the nose layer for the mouth, if that makes sense. So this is what I end up with. And then I'll do a selection around my ear. And I'll do Edit, Copy, Merged, Edit, Paste. Oh, and I got to remember to do Paste in Place. And I'll go over and do the other ear. Edit, Copy, Merged, Edit, Paste in Place. Same idea with the eyes. Edit, Copy, Merged, Edit, Paste in Place. edit, copy merged, edit, paste, in place. All right, so let me go ahead and label those. I have left ear, I have right ear, I have left eye, I have right eye. Okay, so I should have something that looks like this. And then separately I have the face, and separately I have the whole body. So what we're gonna end up doing here is I'm gonna go to the background for the whole body and go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and I'm gonna actually scale it down. Because with a caricature, you always have a really small body with a really big head. So I will put it in something like that. And now if I go to my face layer, and I make a layer mask, which is this white box with a dark circle in the middle of it, I can paint, so paintbrush, and I'm going to paint black with a relatively small, relatively soft brush. So I'll take anything that is kind of sticking out here beyond my chin and bring it in, and then I'm going to just soften this edge so that it transitions nicely, and then get rid of anything over here. So now I have a big head on a little body. Then I'm going to go up to my nose layer, and I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and I will hold down Option to keep it centered and make it a bit bigger. Okay, now it might work best to have all the layers on top off so that I can really see what I'm doing here. And again, I'm going to make a layer mask, and I'm going to paint around that layer mask so that I have softer edges. And I'll let my glasses just kind of go over my nose there. That seems good. Alright, so big nose. We'll go to our mouth layer. I'll do Edit, Transform, Scale. And I'll scale that up, holding Option to keep it centered when I do it. I might move it down a little bit so that I know it's, because I know it's going to overlap with the nose. Hit Return and put on a mask. And bring back in that. This is a huge mouth, but hey, it's fun, right? I'll go to my ear, I'll make it bigger, scale. I suppose I should have centered that when I did it. Edit, Transform, Scale, hold down Option. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and do that with the right ear. Edit, Transform, Scale. Okay. And now I'm going to go in and paint these. Okay, and left eye, scaling it up. Well, really quick, what I'm going to do for these eyes, since my glasses were tinting real bad, so I'm going to put a curve in, and I'm going to brighten up the eyes. My curve layer got on my other window. There we go. So I'll brighten it up, but then I'll kind of tweak it back to have a little contrast. And if I right-click on it, I can create a clipping mask. I'm going to copy that layer and put it on the other eye and make it a clipping mask as well. So now both eyes are brighter, but I still need to go in and scale them. So Edit, Transform, Scale, hold down Option to keep it centered. That looks pretty good. Edit, Transform, Scale, holding down Option. Alright, really big eyes, really close together. Put my masks on them, left eye, And I'm going to turn off the red eye while I do this. And I'm just kind of going to find make my brush smaller and find my edge of my glasses. Get rid of everything outside of the glasses. And then what I might have to do is to come back in if there's anything really distracting. And paint with white, and white will bring back the color. So I have this kind of like lighter spot at the top of the glasses here that I want to, or it's a darker spot at the top of the glasses that I want to get rid of. There we go. And then I'll go over here and do the same with the right eye. Whoop. And I'm still painting white, so I gotta switch it back to black. There we go. So if I, for example, just like used a soft brush and it was too big, what I could do is just make my brush smaller and paint with white, and I don't see it doing that much. Okay, I guess I was better than I thought. You know what? Yeah, okay, I did something wrong somewhere, because when I turn on and off my curve layer, it's not doing anything. Yeah, okay. I was painting with black when I painted in the middle of the eye. There we go. Now I have my big eye. Yeah, okay. Not great, but I'm going to go in and just tweak the curve a little more. That right eye feels darker for some reason. Okay, and then I'm just going to do something here to get rid of those color problems, which is to switch my blending mode to luminosity, which I know is going to get rid of the wacky color that sometimes comes in there. All right, so there we go. That's my basic caricature. Now, if we want to have more fun, what we can do is we can go and select everything. So I'm going to do Command A. Gives me marching ants around the whole document, and then I can go to my top layer and do Edit, Copy, Merged, Edit, Paste, and that puts everything. Oh, see, I should have done Edit, Paste, Special, Paste in place, and that will keep everything in order. So everything below this is still there, but what this is doing is it's putting everything together on one layer, so we can use the liquify filter. And the liquify filter is going to let us distort the face. So if I go to Filter, Liquify, and I got to drag my window over. By default, I think all these things are closed, and we don't normally have a mesh, so I'm going to turn that off. And what I can do, and I'll zoom in on this, let me make it fit the whole page so that we can see it well. There we go. And I'll start from the top left here. We have a forward warp tool. So what that will let you do is it will push things. So if I wanted to, well, I could like make my nostril bigger. And something's wrong here. So it's only got 50% density. I think that's what's going on. Or we have some sort of an overlay. There we go. Okay. I had backdrop on. So if I push and move things, it will like let me manually grab them and move them. So if I made it fit my whole nose here rather than just part of it, I could just grab the whole nose and kind of drag it over, right? If I didn't like what I did, I can either hit Command Z, or there is this reset brush, which will put everything back to how it was when we brought it into the program. There's a swirl brush, and if you click on it, it'll twist things clockwise. If you hold down Option and click on it, it'll twist things counterclockwise. There is pucker, which pulls things to the middle. So if I wanted to make this nose smaller, I could just do that. There is bloat below that. So if I want to make something bigger, it will expand it. There is shift right or shift left. If I drag up, it'll shift left. If I drag down, it'll shift right. Then there is freeze, which will take something that we paint with red and keep it still. So when I go over things next to it, it won't actually affect those pixels. It keeps those kind of locked. And then there's thaw, which will remove that mask. So you can keep some things frozen and move others. Very handy. And then there is a face tool. And the face tool is something that I know won't work very well with the caricatures. I'll click on it and just show you what options you have here. It's all these here. And normally it puts some markers around this that you can actually drag. But in this case, I usually get an error. But you can change things like the size of the eyes, the height, the width, the tilt, the eye distance, the nose height, the nose width, make someone smile or not, upper lip, lower lip, height, like making lips plumper, mouth width, mouth height, forehead, chin height, jawline, face width. These are all things that are actually very subtle. Think of it like an Instagram, Snapchat filter that kind of distorts a face. Those are what this panel here is. And they're actually used a lot in at least like advertising photography. Like think about magazines and things like that. Their portraits are subtly but very much manipulated using these specific tools in here. So there's something to play with, but that we're not really using for the caricature project. So when we're all done here, we can hit OK, and it will make that change on that top layer. So I'm going to call that liquify. And you can see what it was before versus what it is now. When you're all done and happy with this, basically what you want to do is you want to drop in a background image. So what you can do is open up another file. Let me see if I have anything small but handy for this. Here. I'm going to just drag out this picture and drag it in here. We're not really worried about resolution, so if it's small like this, that's fine. What we can do is we can just go into Edit, Transform, Scale, and make it fill our background. All right, so I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to end up cropping this, so I needed to go probably down to about here, but we don't need to go, too crazy with it, and I'll just kind of put that centered. Now I want that to be behind my caricature, so I can drag it down one, or if I didn't like the liquify filter that I did, I could drag it down in my layer stack to be behind the background, which will be, I guess I have to do this a couple times in order to get it to go down to here. There we go. And now I can go ahead and crop it. I don't care about what, having precise proportions for your crop. So just make sure you're look like it fits. Okay. And then I'm ready to go. So I'm going to save this out. File, save as. I'm going to give it a name. So we'll call this project 2. I'm going to give it my name first. Project 2. You could call it caricature. All right. So, and we're saving it as a PSD file. So I'm going to just save it. Right now I'm going to save it to my desktop. But for the purpose of the slideshow for critique, you're going to want it to be a JPEG. If you go to File, Save As, you're going to find that you can't save it as a JPEG. So what you need to do is File, Export as JPEG, which is my top option here. And then it will change it to be a JPEG, and I'm just going to save it in the same spot, which is fine. And now I know, all right, PSD goes into the D2L folder so that I can see your work, and then the JPEG just goes into the critique slideshow. All right, that's all.